Good afternoon, Martin. Welcome to episode 64 of Illuminating Rounds. You are looking straight for the first time.
It's never been said.
Your door frames are straight. You don't live in a hobbit house anymore with the round windows. And so
the wonders of a 12-year-old design for a webcam, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Better than most of the ones you get now, yeah.
Exactly. So, yes, we have to thanks to the patrons. We've used the patron money to invest in some new technology for you. You look colourful and straight and in Technicolor. It's beautiful. It's very nice. So, welcome to the 21st century, 22nd, 21st century. Yeah. How are we doing anyway? You okay?
Yeah. No, I'm great. Yeah.
Yeah. Still winning that ASL?
Well, I'm mostly playing you. It's been going all right. Yeah.
It's been going all right. Well, we'll find out today. If your luck has run out.
Yes. You
now,
never know.
Be careful what you're doing there, because do you want to explain what you're doing?
Right. Okay. So I have got the names of people from the tournament.
The Patreon tournament.
Little bits of paper from the Patreon tournament, and I am shaking them, so I have absolutely no idea where the different names are.
All right.
And later on, I'm going to shake that again a little bit more publicly. And people, I'm going to pull those names out. We're going to do a draw.
Right. Now we're going to run this tournament. That's all right. We are going to run this tournament in a quite interesting way. So we've got 12 players. So we're finished now, unless you have genuinely let me know and I have completely missed it. We've got the 12 players in, and those 12 players are myself and you, Martin, Dave Moresque, Mike Grogan, Paul Legg, Richard Dagnall, Richard Webb, Rob Oller, Simon Staniforth, Tim Reed, Tom Rapetti, and Tuomo Lucari. So we are going to have, rather than do a bye, you had the idea, a very good idea. We'll go down, so all 12 people will play a round to bring us down to 6, and another round to bring us down to 3. And then those 3 will play each other. So they'll play 2 games. And if we get a winner out of those 2, that's great. But if we don't, if we get just 2 doing well and 1 loser, then we'll have a final. If they all win 1 game and lose 1 game, I don't know what we're going to do. We'll figure it out.
Well, I'll work that out. We'll try and make that public before we get anywhere near that point, so that we're not like making it up on the day and going, right. Martin won because... his surname begins with B or something like that. Yeah,
that's very true. The Play by Mail tournament is nearly concluding to the next round. We're still waiting on 1 more game. Paul is playing Eric, so we've got one game to go there before we know who is in effectively the semi-final. So we're waiting for that one. And you are going to run the tournament this time, Martin. Yeah. I'm looking forward to your organisational skills as opposed to my chaos. So that's going to be exciting. So you'll see emails from you, Martin, and you're going to be handling that. So thank you for doing that. That takes a weight off my mind and adds to yours. All right. So we played Red Dawn this time, inspired because of Toby's article in his what's the title of the publication called? We're going to pronounce it wrong again, aren't we?
It is just simply From the Cellar, Pack 11, A Player's Guide to a Self-Defence.
Was it, or is it ASL Defence?
ASL. A self-defence is what it says.
Yeah, but remember, he gave us a pronunciation guide. We had
so it's a self-defence. Yeah, that's what it says.
I know that's what he says, but I think that's what Toby said we shouldn't call it. I think we've got to call it ASL Defence.
Well, I called it that, and you both laughed at me and said, "No, even you've got it wrong."
I don't know.
I don't think Toby knows.
All right. Well, it's an excellent article. It's unfair, isn't it, to call it an article? It's an excellent guide.
Dissertation.
Yeah, thesis, isn't it? It's incredible. Yeah. And in there was a defence that he suggested around how one might defend the Red Dawn scenario. So you didn't read that. I didn't read that because we could play it and then talk about what was different about your setup to...
Can I say, though, that I did read the rest of the article and try to apply the principles.
Okay. What did you pick up anything specifically?
Okay, so a couple of things. Yeah, so I picked up... So I quite like, in the article, he talks about thinking of the victory conditions. When you're the defender, think of the victory conditions as what is the most that you can let the opponent do. So, for example, if they've got to capture 4 buildings, well, you've got to stop them gaining more than 3, haven't you? You've got to think of it like that. So just like really focusing your mind on what it is you need to stop the opponent from doing, so your thinking is really sort of clear. The other thing that I really thought about with this scenario was, and I think I used to do this, which is quite like this. He says he divides his squads into sort of platoons of 3 squads, gives them a leader each, and then assigns tasks to them as a broad sort of way of getting started. And then of course you've normally got a couple of half squads, and you've got a Panzerfaust or something. You assign that to one of the platoons. So I think this idea of having like sort of 3 squads together gives them a bit of kind of like strength. You're not like leaving things out on their own and stuff like that. So I thought about that.
Yeah. I've definitely done that in the past, where you just 3 and a leader, 3 and a leader, and generally the leaders kind of work out like that. But I really like the idea of giving them orders in your mind, like giving them specific tasks to break down, because too often, and especially I'm absolutely awful with tanks for doing this, I genuinely don't know what they're going to do until they get there. I have no idea. And, we've played enough to know I'm moving counters. I don't know where they're going to end up. I have no plan whilst I'm moving them. I'm as surprised as you are sometimes about how things unfold.
And isn't it great, though, when it turns out a really good position?
Yeah. And you go, did it just as I imagined, I've played, there was it Austerlitz, or there was a few old computer games that very first kind of experimented with the idea of typing text entries as a command, and then there would be a period of time before the orders were kind of like filtered down to the troops, and then the troops, so you couldn't kind of say change your mind here, go left, go right. And I really like that idea. I guess keeping supple and keeping kind of versatile in your orders is important, but I do like the idea of focus for, okay, these have got to do this and stuff like that, because that's definitely where I lack my planning. I think, I'm certainly going to try and do that in future. So we had a very close game. So Red Dawn we played from Action Pack. We're going to go through that in a bit. In other news, we have to talk about our giveaway for our patrons from last week. Okay, so we asked everybody, but patrons specifically, to give us a tactical tip for defending on the back of Toby's article. And so we got the following tips, and we're going to do a roll off to see who wins the article, or the magazine. So Doug talks about having patience for defensive fire, waiting as long as possible. Tim Reed talks about trying to fire firepower at units that are about to place the demo charge as they go into that hex, so they have both the residual and your final fire shot against them as well for an extra shot. Rich Wiley said to create fake machine gun positions with either bad leaders if you've got some 6+1s and some half squads, or dummy counters. Richard Webb talked about spray and fire for leaving more residual, which is always good. I think Richard Dagnall talked about just skulking, which is probably the best tactical tip in terms of what defenders need to do often in urban and settings where they can fall back and then pull back into their front positions. And Tom Rapetti talked about digging foxholes and some clever use of digging the foxholes behind walls or hedges to get out of line of sight if needed as well. So absolutely all good tips. Martin, I need a random number from 1 to 6. Okay. So from Doug, Tim, Richard, the 3 Richards, and so Richard Wiley.
The 3rd.
Indeed, yeah. He's number 5. Okay, all right. Give us a number from 1 to 5 on random.org, please. 1 to 6, sorry.
1 to 6. Here we go. And it is a 6. Tom
Rapetti gets the article. I will be ordering that, Tom, from America, as to not pay the postage. So, but yeah, we will sort that out. Thank you very much, guys, for all your support. Right, patrons and everybody else who leaves little comments, always nice. We love hearing. David Schofield got in touch with us, which was lovely, on YouTube. Fantastic. and a few others were there as well. Craig Ben.
It sounds like David Schofield's getting a little bit back into ASL. Maybe we'll see us at the tournament soon. So
he's seen you winning games, and he's thought, well, if that's the state of the competition these days, the Shark's going to move back in again. Let me tell you.
And he is a Shark. Yeah,
he's a good player. Right. Okay. So let's talk about Red Dawn. So Red Dawn, Mark Piktovich scenario, I believe.
Yeah. That's
from the
spec
that's right.
anyway.
Yeah,
It was Mark Piktovich.
he was from. It seems like a long time ago now because AP21. I mean, action pack number 21. It's like
Action Pack 3, isn't it?
Yeah, there was the two action packs which were very very good and very very popular, and then there was a huge like kind of delay or pause or kind of hiatus of action packs, and I think Mark kind of maybe kind of sparked it back into life again. I mean, I think there weren't a lot of action packs before that, and suddenly we're seeing them. You know, we're on action pack. Is it 16 now? Which is brilliant.
And do you know, I remember when it came out, I played almost all of the ones that were set in Russia. I didn't play all of the ones in Italy, but perhaps one or two of them. And I played nearly all of them with David Schofield.
Oh, really?
Okay. Including Red Dawn.
Okay, right. Well, this is why you are such an expert these days. So, Red Dawn. So we should mention the version we played is a little bit pro-Italian.
Yeah.
And there is an updated version in Hollow Legion's 3rd edition. We couldn't find out. It was Jim Bishop and a couple of other guys on the Discord server. The Discord server, by the way, for ASL is incredible. I will put a link to it. Guys, if you know, it's almost real time there in terms of the questions and answers that people come up with. It's amazing. So there's a great community there. If you're interested, there will be a link below. In a nutshell, it wasn't that easy to find the differences in the two scenarios. So I don't know if MMP have published it as yet. They hadn't done as of when we were starting to play. Effectively, we should have taken off a light machine gun and a mortar from the Italians. So you know, a little bit of balance, but we're fearless. We'll play without the balance because that's who we are. Of course, I got the unfavoured side without the balance. So that's that. But you know. So here we go, Red Dawn. Martin, you want to talk us through the scenario?
Very straightforward in a way. You've got the Italians there up on the upper of the two boards. I assume everybody's looking at it the same way as me. And then you've got the Russians on the other side of a frozen river. That's representing the River Don. The Russians have got to cross and they've got to get onto the hills. There are all the hills are level 1. I think we're not showing that. We're showing a level 2, but it's a level 1 hill. Got to get onto level 1 hills, and at the end of the scenario, which is 7 turns long, it's quite a lengthy scenario, they have to have 10 points of multi-man counters on level 1 after the Italian turns 7, so the turns get the last turn.
Right.
There's ground snow is in effect, so it's quite slow going up and down these slopes, isn't it? I think
that's right. Yeah.
Across the river, you've got the island in the way. You potentially got the Italians firing at them while they're doing it, and the Italians have OBA, which creates the really interesting opportunity to bring OBA down on the river and potentially create collapsed ice.
Yes. Yeah. And that would have been my first thought. I would have thought to try and do that because it feels like you can't use harassing fire, I assume, for that exact reason. But I would have thought that doing that, if you can catch the Russians in the stream, that's the river. It's probably game over if you
if you catch them right, maybe. I think. I mean, you can see, can't you, that I've not set up my radio to do that. I've set my radio up to gain concealment on the first turn. So you're going over. You've got two sort of big clusters, haven't you?
Yeah.
But possibly you would have crossed in a different way, perhaps, if you knew
yes.
that the OBA was a risk.
Absolutely. If you were up on a hill, sorry.
So I was going to say the other thing is that lines of sight can be a little bit tricky, because you've got a lot of woods in the way, and wherever you put that radio, once the Russian knows where it is, you've got a 9-2 leader with a heavy and a medium machine gun.
Yep.
That isn't necessarily going to last very long. And the Italian radio is so unreliable. I mean, it's got a reasonably good contact number, hasn't it, with 8? But I can't remember how many reds and how many blacks exactly.
Oh yeah, you're scarce ammo, aren't you? So I think you are something like 7
and the Italians aren't great in the first place.
Yeah, I think 7 and 3.
So you can't expect the Italian OBA to last. I think that's you can't just hammer away turn after turn.
Yeah, exactly that. I definitely would have set up more spread out if I thought that there was a possibility. But obviously, seeing your radio at the back, I kind of focused on 2 hills. I thought I'd just focus on 2 and make you work for one of them. I have a big kind of Death Star sitting down here with the 9-2 leader. So there's a couple of medium machine guns and heavy. And the plan really is just to run across human wave across the river, and that was the key thing. So I was kind of surprised to get a few concealed guys that I could see, so that I was able to human wave across. So my plan.
So something else to say though is there's a lot of trenches on there which you lot can't see, but you will see in a minute. There's also mines, there's wire, there's a good deal of fortifications.
Yes. Yeah.
So you'll see that kind of like unfold if you're not
exactly.
You don't know the scenario already.
Exactly that, and we've got the +1 LV hindrance, greater than 6 hexes, winter camouflage for the Russians, and there's a possibility of falling snow from turn 3 onwards. So without further ado, let's run through and see what happens. We get a little bit of the revealing of the fortifications. We have some concealment gains, and we're off. So first thing is I managed to break your mortar guy in here. Now, arguably,
but I've actually put because there are only 3 Italian concealment counters. I put them on the stacks that I wanted to give some protection to. So there's an element to which I was kind of. I thought I wanted some things in the front, but I didn't want you to be able to perhaps attack cheaply my most expensive, my best units sort of thing. The other thing I was going to say is these mortars. There's 3 of them, 1 on each hill, and the one that's in W3 over here. I don't know if you can see that.
No, I won't see it. But
okay. So W3 and J2, they're exactly 13 hexes apart. So I kind of actually thought, well, they can actually cover each other, sort of thing. So I kind of quite carefully placed them all.
Okay, nice.
Genius.
Well, see how it works out for you. So I think maybe I was a bit more worried about the mortar than this big stack. In hindsight, that big stack is quite a dangerous stack, and I think I should have focused a little bit more on that in the first turn. But I human wave, and we have a bit of confusion about the.
I think we had an issue where we weren't quite connected. So you were saying right now, that's right.
But human waving we are. No hit battle for me on my first snake eyes because of the human wave rules. So that's that. We have another one coming here. A whole bunch of guys break on the first or the second impulse here coming up. But unperturbed, we'll carry on. And my thoughts here were just get as many people up in the first line as possible, and we'll figure it out from there. That's the plan. So, some minefields that I find, good job for me. And we are in not great shape, but okay shape in terms of the first turn. I mean, what did we break here? So 3 squads, 4, 5, 5 and a leader. So a quarter of my force down on the first turn. And it does feel like, I mentioned this at the end of the scenario. You're up against entrenched, albeit Italians, but entrenched Italians with what becomes, I think, rain. I think on the next turn, effectively it's 45 with +2, and then the rain or the snows is going to be giving +3. So it's into stone buildings, across open ground, and the wire, and the mines, and the OBA is going to come down.
It's not straightforward, is it?
It's not fun. It's not fun.
I mean, at the moment, that's sort of the rain and the hindrances are probably helpful to you, aren't you? Because you're out of range. And it's worth remembering that these are not ordinary Italians; these are elite. I mean, you can deploy them. It didn't occur to me to deploy them. It has to be said, but they can deploy. They're not first line Italians; they're elite.
I get a nice sniper result there that breaks your leader, I think. And what do we get there? Something happens to this leader. I can't remember how he broke. We pin a guy there anyway. And presume that wasn't the sniper.
I'm giving away a little bit of information about where there aren't mines by moving forward like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, if I was a smart man, I would have marked that on the map somehow, but I didn't. So here I kind of pivot a little bit. So swing around to the right just to try to break through the woods there, because obviously that hill on the right now is very weak, and I'm thinking, okay, well, this is an opportunity, and
it scared me, I have to say.
Well, at this point, I was feeling quite good. I mean, we've got. I'll zoom in here now because we've got a little bit of space. So we've got 3, 4, 5 squads here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 4 squads on the central hill, and we've got a couple, advancing on the left hand side. And I'm thinking this is good. And I think I made the point here. It's a bit like a football game where you score too early. I felt like I was in a great position here, almost for a last turn push, almost like I didn't need another 4 turns. And I was nervous that you're going to start to regroup and the fire is going to start to come down and the OBA is going to start to come down. And that's...
I actually pulled a red shit, I think, first.
You did, yeah. Your first one was a red shit. You break some machine guns here. There's a rule about the Russians can low crawl if they're adjacent on the river to Italians. I find another minefield here. That's my 6, so he's gone. And now
this is where you see that combination of wire and trenches being so powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, close combat here. I mean, this is I've got 2 close combats about to happen here. So the other thing is the Russians can declare hand to hand, and that's a little bit tricky to know whether to do that or not, because in one way clearing you out is a good thing, but I don't particularly mind if I tie you up with a melee. But we get a mutual destruction. Do we get mutual destruction for 1? Maybe you get half.
So. Oh no, you win the first one.
No, I think I lost. Lost 2.
Yeah.
And then we have 1 that hangs around, I think, on the wire.
Yeah. Well, you won in Q2.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And that was kind of the end of our first session. How did you think we were going at the time? What did you feel?
Well, I was kind of a bit staggered how much progress you've made, and the fact that you had 9-1 leaders in trenches not in the trenches actually. You're above ground, aren't you? In open ground.
Yeah.
But I'm also aware that I've got a lot of firepower in the next line. So in P2 there's 2 squads and a light machine gun.
Yeah.
It means I've got 20 flat shot back. Yeah. Well, that's what's +1 because of the weather, isn't it? But it's because we got rain by now, haven't we? But it was
Yeah, so it starts to rain.
And also, I don't have any OBA down yet. I don't have my spotting round moving around, which I would like to have had by now.
Right.
And I begin to feel that the left-hand side, as we're looking at it, that hill is very vulnerable to just kind of creeping onto it.
Right.
Ignoring the actual, not actually having to fight me. Sort of.
Yeah. Here looks great for me now. Suddenly I've got the heavy machine gun taken care of. Albeit I've broken a squad in my middle, and I thought this was pretty much going to be the game winning for me. I thought the middle hill here was going to be okay.
Yeah.
Your mortars start to fire. I lose another unit here. I have to take them prisoners. So we're up to turn 3 now. Here's where I get I come up adjacent to you, hoping to try and get up onto this hill as well. And then I decide that actually it's crazy for me to even try to take you on here, because obviously I'm on the wire and all this kind of stuff. It's probably easy just to go around you, and you put the your action request down. And this is this is where I go. Yeah, this is quite funny. So here I'm going to go for your leader with this squad here, and I'm kind of
I
deterring.
should have protected him much better. I should have had some sort of sniper protection for him, but also to stop you from doing this.
Exactly, yeah. So you take the shot here,
Yeah.
which is about the worst place you could take the shot because of the hill's going to block it. You could wait until Q6, for example.
Q6 would be the best place.
Yeah. So it's blocked, and I get to run after your guy.
I have to say that felt like a turning point, definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, but meanwhile, I'm still struggling. Still struggling on the wire. Your mortars are becoming a bit painful.
Yeah.
But we're again get adjacent to the hill and then can't quite get up there again.
Yeah.
You think about bringing the spotting round down here, which I was very surprised about. So here, I mean, I had a squad and a leader.
Yeah.
And it's next to like your big stack, and I kind of thought, well, I'm quite happy for you to bring that down.
Yeah.
Down there.
I mean, the thing is, I'm in trenches and you're in open ground.
That's
that was
right.
That was the thinking, and there's nothing, and I feel a little bit like I'm being overwhelmed a little bit, or even though it might not feel like that from your perspective.
Yeah.
I'm not getting a good shot on that other hill.
Right.
Yeah.
So close combat that doesn't go anywhere. There we're in hand to hand. There. The FFE comes down. I get lucky with a pin. I think you just get a pin as well, one pin in there. So we move on. We are on coming up to turn 4.
Yep.
I think this is your turn 3, I think, at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got the poor guy here with the radio. He's going to worry about getting overrun there.
Yeah. Here this time the FFE was effective against your guys, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. And we have.
That was a very clever move over the hedge, Dave.
Oh yeah, you like this one. So this was just to keep out of the way of everything. The downside about being on that side of the hill, though, was any of your routing guys can now come backwards. And I was kind of I'm in an ahhing whether I let you have the shot against me, which was a fairly bad shot, but still a potential to
shot.
As opposed to just getting a little bit more protection with the hedge. And so the leaders are back and more guys. And at this point, so turn 4 for me, one squad looking good. This squad 2, 3, 4, and so 4 on the hills already, and obviously another 1.5 coming up. So definitely possibilities to win here for the Russians.
Yep. Especially with me about to lose the radio.
Right, yeah, exactly. So now you cleverly are going to break him.
Yep.
And run back. And this was one of those infuriating things where I can't believe that you can't see anything towards me, but you're going to get away.
And there's a good order leader just in L3, so he's potentially going to be able to go and rally him or whatever.
Exactly. So more guys up on the hill on the left-hand side. My kill stack is about to start to run, but not just yet. It's running out of targets.
The biggest headache I think I had was that kill stack.
Right. And the 9-2 lead is obviously going to do some stuff. So here if he's gone, you're going to run a squad around, and this is smart. This is your best move of the game, I think. Leader coming round, grabbing the radio off the broken guy, which is completely legal and according to our rules at least, our reading of the rules, and doesn't even have to spend a movement point to do so. So you can just just jump in,
you can get adjacent to that trench and advance up to it and start moving the radio down next turn. So off he goes, and grabs that radio, and that's great because, and this is the point where I thought, okay, this is where I'm going to lose this, because what I could see was going to happen was you were going to get back on that hill. I can't really affect that leader.
and the 2 units on the far left are going to get hit from OBA in the far left, and the 16 shots aren't going to go well.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's kind of where
from my point of view, though, it's still a very, very uncertain.
Yeah.
Uncertain weapon. I think it must be almost 50-50 whether the next card is black or red. If it's red, that's the OBA finished, isn't
right,
it?
Exactly. So this is the point where I start to try and work out how I'm going to get away from the OBA and what are the tactics here, because I can't just sit on top of this hill and wait for the OBA to fall. So, at this point we've got, of the 5, so it's worth saying that leaders don't count towards the victory conditions.
Victory conditions,
yeah. So 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, here 4.5. So 4.5 squads up there. So just need one more squad from potentially anywhere that we can get. Anywhere we can get them. So here comes the action request here. Now you can see this, and you're going to be it's going to go down there. Now the problem here was I realized that I've got to get out of line of sight of that radio to make you at least draw another red card. So the plan here is to you're just going to do a little bit of repositioning. So I come down off the hill on the last but one turn, the penultimate turn, just to try and figure out either you're going to have to draw another one, and I can obviously advance back up again on my turn. But obviously you get the last turn as well. That's the other kind of important thing. So even if I do go up on that hill, it's not gonna help me avoid the OBA. Now, the plan here was to get plenty of concealment. All that got concealed was the half squad and the leader, and they're the two that I really didn't need. I really wanted both the squads to get the concealment, because the half squad's not going to do a lot for me on the half point or the 1 point that I'm going to get up there. So you then move the OBA, which is kind of, I think, your big mistake here, wasn't it? Because I think you were better off leaving it where it was.
Best just left. He was in the perfect spot. Yeah. It does create more choices. I mean, it's drifted to there, but it means you could potentially move it to somewhere else. But it was a mistake.
So here's my favourite moment of the game. My memory of, and I hadn't read Tom's top tip, but it's absolutely true. Getting the guys to dig foxholes in here as a prep fire action. They've obviously got nothing else to do, and got 2 nice low rolls.
You've got yourself in nice +4 terrain.
And here's where we realise that this is going to create a sniper, and we check and double check, and entrenching does cause a sniper. It's called out explicitly as a sniper action. You get the 1,
of course.
And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, that's but thankfully the sniper is way down here. So
it was placed at the beginning of the game. It was the first activation, wasn't it? And I was basically just aiming for the 9-2 leader or the heavy machine gun group.
Now, I was still surprised that you didn't manoeuvre this. I know there was a chance that it was going to do a great job of getting the 9-2. There was
I have got that. The thing is, there is, if I move it, it's very near the end of the game. It might be the last sniper. It's the only sniper I've had so far. And there is a chance that it's going to head up the board. To where the 9-2 is, or in that direction. So you can't roll the direction dice first and find out where it's going to go before you decide. You got to decide first. So I thought better go for a definite result than the uncertainty of a result in the future.
So you roll it, and it's pretty harmless.
Over that,
so little TIs there. So my guys are back up the hill for your defensive fire. We have a little bit of ineffective shooting. In fact, you break the heavy machine gun here, which is pretty handy for me. So you now are going to bring up a squad to try and save this leader, and think my plan here is just to try and knock that, because I know what you're going to do. You're going to run in, and then lose.
The leader was only there to try and get rid of the concealment.
Yeah, exactly.
Close combat. Yeah,
exactly. So I have a plan for him.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
We have a little bit more prep him.
More ineffective fire, I think.
Yeah. And I jump into close combat. We're up on the hill. So close combat. You have and we keep concealment because I've got winter camouflage. It's our understanding of that. So at this point, I have 1, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5 units. So 7.5 units. I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
Plenty.
Yeah, plenty can go wrong. So let's have a look. The FFE, I think you bring down here.
I think that's what I tried to
bring it down. That's right. Then it's inaccurate, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it goes up. So it breaks the leader and it breaks the half squad, but in theory, no problems.
That's a good result for you, really.
Yeah. So you prep fire into the guys. So obviously this is the problem. The problem I had with this squad here was it was like it's the devil in the deep. You see, do I jump up here and because obviously you had to pull another chip here to put it here.
Yeah.
You pulled another black chip. So the idea was if I come up here to Y5 or X4, you wouldn't have to pull another chip. That was obviously you'd be getting a 16 flat against these guys. Here, it's not much better. It's a 16 up 1.
Yeah.
But it's obviously it's an IFT shot as well, so it might cower. I mean, there's a few other little bits and pieces that makes this slightly better.
Yeah.
But obviously the 16 up 1, you get a 3 for that. So they are broken, and so I'm down to 1.
And this is just that was just the mortar firing. I don't think I even got around to the IFT
4,
shot.
Yeah. I think 5 here. Yeah, that's the guy in the conscripts.
Yeah.
And then you have another 1 check into.
The machine gun was repaired, wasn't it, as well?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And I fail my morale check here to lose the game.
Yeah.
And that was that. That was that. So it was a good game. It was close. I did feel like I did everything I could.
Yeah.
And couldn't
what
win
I really like about that scenario, I think, is the way that it feels quite desperate as the Italians, because the Russians seem a long way away, but very, very quickly they're all over you.
Yeah.
And I think in terms of like Hollywood movie, it's a really, really good scenario for that, of being kind of like totally overrun. But those fortifications are so good, keeping, you were kept nearly all of the time above the wire, weren't you? I was in trench, even in close combat. I'm in a trench.
Yeah.
You're above the wire, so I've got an advantage in the close combat, and then any fire coming in is more harmful to you than it is to me.
Exactly.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, it was a good game. It was very good and well played. Again, well played. I can't get a win off you now. So I don't know what I'm going to try to do next time. That's who knows. I think we're going to play Toby shortly in one of his scenarios. So I'm looking forward to that. But that was a good one. Yeah. Okay. All right, Martin. So we're back. Quick costume change. For another day at the mines here. So we're going to talk about the difference between your setup and Toby's setup in the Red Dawn. So what do you think were the big differences, and what interested you most in Toby's setup?
Yeah. So I suppose the things there were some similarities. I mean, remembering I had read, other than this page, I had read everything else that he'd written about defence. So I'd done the platoon, like 3 platoons and all that stuff, and a leader in each. But other than that, there were quite a few differences. So one of the big differences is that he used the fortifications very differently in terms of the wire and the mines, really to basically shield one area completely and perhaps encourage the attacker to channel the attacker onto the other side. He also used the wire on the Italians' right-hand side to to block off what is actually a very quick way up onto the hills. I felt that I'd made a mistake in not doing something like that when I was playing you, because you got up very quickly and up onto the hills. I mean, I know it ended up not good for them, but it was definitely a weakness that you were able to get up there.
Right. And I guess sorry, I was going to say the most controversial thing for me for Toby's setup was basically just announcing where his dummies are by at the start. The 3 dummy counters at the back. Yeah. He's going to use those as sniper bait. I would have thought that it might have been worth just concealing, doing what neither of you did, and concealing perhaps the radio with the leader under a dummy counter and having 2 others.
So specifically, I actually saw, you targeted my radio by chasing a guy after it. What occurred to me looking at Toby's set, although he didn't do it, it made me think of it. You could literally create a fake radio stack with 3 counters, can't you? It's a 7-0, a radio, and a concealment counter. And that would make it a really good way of protecting the radio. Imagine you go chasing after it and it just found 3 dummies. I mean, that would be quite good.
Yeah, or you would use potentially the 3 dummy counters as concealment counters, and then stack 2 half squads and a whatever. I don't know. I don't know if a light machine guns or maybe even the mortar. But I suppose you can go look for the mortar, I suppose, at some point and find it. Yeah. The other thing Toby did was a real reverse slope defense, didn't he? He kind of didn't have very much on the front edge, and so it made it look like his middle hill was very weak. Obviously, you don't know necessarily where the mines are and and everything like that. I would have quite liked to attack that middle hill, looking at how he set up compared to your middle hill, which was very, very strong with with the heavy in there and everything. But
the thing is, I sort of thought about this reverse slope defense. I mean, Toby actually has one position. V2 is a forward trench position, isn't it? But other than that, it is a reverse. I didn't have the courage to do it. It kind of just felt wrong to me that I wouldn't be able to fire at you hardly at all as you were approaching. But he's pretty much gone for it. But he does say in the write-up on this defense that the P2 position, although it can't see anything, is adjacent to nearly all of the hexes that you will have to climb up to go onto that hill.
Yeah.
And you're going to face point-blank fire.
Yeah.
The only one really that you can't protect is N1, and that has the 8 mines there. So you're going to be led to go there, aren't you? And you're going to get an 8 firepower attack.
Yeah. Interesting.
But the Russians, potentially, are completely concealed, can advance into open ground, giving them a good deal of protection from that point blank.
That's right. So, yeah. Interesting.
I think that I like, even looking at this, and I effortlessly know that Toby would smash me to pieces if I played him, but I still like having the wire with the trenches because it makes it so difficult to attack. I also thought about putting the mines in the same place, so you could literally have a trench protected by mines and wire. It would make them very difficult to attack.
Well, that's the thing, that the scenario kind of hints at this hand-to-hand close combat being an option for the Russians, and so therefore you can expect some close combat on the hills.
Yeah.
And mine in that area seems pretty brutal if you've got mines and you've got wire, and then you've got the close combat, you've got the OBA with almost all of that is going in the Italians' favour. It's an interesting one, but it was very nice to compare 2 different setups. And like you say, Toby's a much better player than us. But and this goes back to the conversation we've had lots of times about how scenarios are balanced in different ways for different levels of players, and it just shows that if an average set of players like us play in a particular way, it may be very, very difficult for the Russians. This defense here may be, maybe even harder, or it may be, a swing the other way. Who knows? But interesting.
I think you're being channeled by Toby. He doesn't say this, but I think you talk about how that middle hill looks weak. I think you're being channeled into there.
Yeah,
it's going to end up being quite a narrow advance.
Right.
And it's exactly how I felt when I did that seaborne assault.
Right.
I went for what looked like the weakest point.
Right.
That was the strongest point. That was his plan. That's where he wanted me to be. Or, my guys spent no time to game broken in a minefield.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Well, good stuff, and appreciate it again. So you can get all of this information and more from the Franc-Tiers from the cellar, pack number 11, and Tom Rapetti's lucky dice rolling will get him a a copy as well. Shall we find out A, who people are playing in the tournament?
Yes.
And B, what we're going to play as well. So
okay, so we are going to be playing Wild Cat Strike, which is Winter Offensive 16, WO 16. And one of the reasons I chose this, apart from it being quite an interesting scenario, is that after quite a lot of playings on Raw, it is perfectly balanced. Literally, one more playing would unbalance it. It's absolutely perfect. So I thought that would be a good one to kick off the scenario. I think a lot of people will know the scenario, and there might be that some people know it. It's obviously people play the Winter Offensive ones, don't they? So it's a possibility that people had some experience of it. But I think it'd be a good one for people.
And I can see you're excited about this draw.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. So I'm shaking here just so everyone can see.
Read them out. Go for it.
12 names. Okay, so match number 1 will be. Are you writing these down?
Yep.
Okay. Tim Reed versus David Moresk. Or Dave Moresk.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Let's see the pen through that one, so let's shift them up a little bit. There we go. Richard Webb, and pretty much everyone in this tournament's called Richard, probably playing Dave Ramsey.
Oh, okay.
That's lucky, Richard. Okay, Richard Dagnall in game 3 is playing me. Now, I played Richard recently, actually, in the Vassal tournament, and then we played another friendly game afterwards. Yeah. Mike Grogan is playing Simon Staniforth. I really screwed these up. Rob Oller is playing Paul Legg. And Tom Repetti.
Oh, well, we know this is going to be the Tumo battle, isn't it?
Tumo, yeah. Well, Tumo.
2 versus.
That's remarkable, isn't it?
Wow. Okay. There
they
we go.
always meet in the final, don't they, normally?
Well, not this time.
No.
This time. All right. Good stuff. Thank you. Last part we're going to do is we're going to take a look at Rob McGinley and Eric Topp's game of Cibik's Ridge. We came across this one because obviously you and I played it, and we had some questions about the American defence. And this game really highlights a really nice game played by both players. I think we took a look at this earlier, didn't we? And really thought this was quite nicely played by both. And so let's take a look at this one.
2 avenues of approach. That's the first difference for me, isn't it? I have 1 avenue of approach.
Yeah, ignore the titles of this page. This is not.
It's worth saying this is. In fact, you mentioned this when we looked at earlier that it's beautifully presented in scenario, isn't it? I think Rob did this a good job of making this look good.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So so we'll remember that the Japanese are trying to get. I think they've got to get 9 level 3 heal hexes or something like that. It's quite a lot, and they've got a CVP cap as well. It's
all about 3 or 4, isn't it? I think.
That's right, and they're coming on in column formation. That's the kind of key.
It's 13 altogether. Yeah.
Yeah. Americans are starting hip.
Yep.
For everything. So on comes the column as we enjoyed previously. Now you'll remember I had this kind of setup where I was very light. I had a couple of half squads to try to catch the column. Eric took a very different approach and went for really up front with the 9-2 and the medium machine gun and a full squad up there. It's a brave move, isn't it, to do that? Certainly.
And in fact, the Japanese are in strength. That's 2 squads in that forward hex, isn't there? So they'll take the full brunt of that attack. Yeah,
bore sighted, and the straight away the leader is killed. We stripe a Japanese unit as well. So straight away, and obviously the column halts at that point,
Yeah.
some advances, and talk briefly about whether or not you would jump into close combat there, but probably against the 9-2 and a full squad, the Japanese half squad's gonna, or full squad,
And
stripe
advancing
squad.
into jungle as well.
Yeah,
It's,
exactly.
yeah. This is a great position, isn't it? I think that's the right place for Eric
Yeah,
to
brilliant.
yeah. And in fact, I like the way this happens, the way that Rob takes his time to move.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of time, but you need to attack that position in strength. There's no point in throwing them in as they arrive.
Right, exactly that. Yeah. Yeah. So, and this is also interesting where he's not gonna throw it all away with big stacks adjacent. He's gonna kind of tease the Americans into doing some potential
And
prep
sneaking around the flank as well.
That's right. Yeah. So a little bit of prep firing and then coming back. Now this was also really a nice little kind of moment as well in the game. We have one of the 60mm mortars firing with spotted fire over the hill. It was me complaining I couldn't find anywhere for these mortars to fire. This is a great spot. Pun intended, but it's nice to see. And then you've obviously got the heavy that turns up as well. That's hip. This is one of those games as an attacker, you kind of like you're walking into every one of the the traps.
And it's easy to have had everything kind of revealed by now, isn't it? If but this Eric's planned it so that it actually the attack's getting harder as you push forward, kind of thing.
Yep, exactly.
And there's still hips out there, so he's still got to be cautious.
Yep, exactly that.
But he's doing the right thing in terms of just banzaiing into those Americans. And close combat.
Yeah, and if you look here, I mean, it's not. I mean, the Japanese must be pretty happy at this point. They've got, a fair. I know it's a lot of it's like half squads and stripe squads and stuff like that, but there's a fair amount of force there on the cusp. And with a couple of nice close combat rolls, and you can see there's some awful close combat rolls there, but the Japanese take a little bit of the American defense out.
They take everybody out eventually, don't they? That's gone there. Yeah. And now the Americans are starting to look very thin on the ground.
And it looks awful, doesn't it? Exactly that.
Yeah.
At this point, you would think this is a clear-cut Japanese win. Yeah, it's a good prep fire shot. That's a risky thing, but he's got no real options, has he? There other than to prep fire.
He's got nowhere to go that's safe, has he?
Yeah.
And the Americans just break if they don't.
Yeah.
Not having the benefit of striping and stuff.
Exactly.
So there is the risk. It looks like there's the risk of the American heavy and medium machine gun getting cut off. By the Japanese advance, isn't there? But exactly. Another guy shows up there to hold the line a bit, give him a chance to rout.
Unluckily, gets hit by the sniper. Yeah,
but he still stops the movement there, doesn't he? He still stops anything moving through him.
Around comes the stripe squad at the top.
I hate that feeling as the attacker when whatever you try, it looks like your opponent's almost like thought about it in advance, because the flanks look weak, but they are protected and stuff.
And if you look at this position now, you can't see anything other than a Japanese win. I think in terms of we're on turn 5, 3 or 4 turns to go, I suppose, in terms of how much more to go.
And they're able to rout still.
Yeah, they come back. Yeah, the Americans come back.
Nearly everything's broken. Nearly everything's weak.
Yep.
The guys in the gully, you've got the guys protecting them, haven't you?
Yep.
The guys in the gully, they've moved out now.
But
vulnerable there.
Suddenly, like the Americans get their 9-2 stack back.
Yeah.
They're coming back here.
Coming back into that narrow gap between the gullies.
Yep.
Which I think is the key to this scenario, really, the final part of this scenario.
Yeah, and now look at the great defense suddenly from almost from nothing.
Yeah.
The Americans have kind of swung it back round again.
Yeah.
And Japanese still look, it's in a way you kind of almost like the Japanese would love to be where they are right now in terms of they've got the Americans would love to be where they are.
But I think those Americans, there's a few half squads and stuff. They're not as strong as they look, but they've still got the heavy and they've still got the medium. They've still got the 9-2, so there's still a lot of strength there as well.
Right. And obviously it's the CVP. Rob described this as almost a death by 1,000 cuts. There's a lot of CVP at risk here. This is the problem that with that.
And he's got to risk it, hasn't he? He's got to do it. He's just got to charge into those positions.
Exactly. It's Worth noticing as well, they played this by Play by Mail, so this is an absolute bear to put together. So well done for Rob for putting
He's done
this.
a very good job of that, actually.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at this defense for an American defense here. At this point, I'm just throwing my hands up and just like, what are you going to do to sort this out here? It's great. It's like the perfect defense here. Everything concealed, heavy machine guns up the front there. Banzai comes in, and the Japanese will make a little bit of progress here if they can.
Yeah, but they got to take a few hexes, haven't they? And
that's right. Yeah.
The cork in the bottle is the heavy machine gun.
Exactly, turn 7 here.
Yeah.
So one more turn left, and at that point, there's the CVP cap is reached. For the Japanese.
And Eric wins.
And you'd have to say, I think at this point they would possibly struggle as well to get all those hexes as well. So it looked a really interesting game, and well played both of them there. That was
absolutely
it was nice scenario. So thank you, Rob and Eric, for sharing that game. We're still waiting. We've got one more game. It's between Paul Legg and Eric, and to see who's going to come into the semi-final. So that's next. So other than that, Martin, everything else all right with you? We both had birthdays. We're both a year older.
Yes. Yeah.
We enjoyed ourselves.
I'm 55.
Only 49. Only 49.
Yeah, it goes quick. It goes quick.
You're telling me those last 6 years of work have gone quick. that one.
But it does mean I can take my pension, so I'm retiring.
Yeah, that's very
In July the 20th is my last day at work, and I'm going to dedicate my life to advanced squad leader and illuminating rounds.
You're going to become a professional player now.
Well, a professional layabout, really.
Well, on that note, I guess we're going to say thank you very much. Well played again for this week, and we're going to try and sort out a game with Toby. We're going to try and play him at his own scenario, which, I mean, if we can't have a harder battle than that.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Breaking news. Toby's resigned.
To work on beating us there,
All right, so thank you again to all the Patreons. Thanks for all your interactions and your comments and everything. Keep them coming. If you've got a suggestion for a scenario that you think we should play, happy to hear it. Corrections, edits, whatever you want us to make, that's absolutely fine. We're always happy to hear back from feedback about where goes going wrong. We get a lot of feedback, Martin, by the way, just to mention this as well. A lot of players like the fact that, not like that we make mistakes, but ASL is a tough game, isn't it? And it's always worth mentioning that it's no problems if you play in the spirit of how we play. ASL is a very approachable game in a way. It's crazy to say that because we know the size of the rule book, but actually, we don't play particularly seriously, and we enjoy it, and we try and get all the rules, and we try and learn everything, try and learn something new every game, don't we? But you're always going to be learning, I think, to the day we play the last game.
I like to think we're a bit like, like in the modelling world, there's a space for the perfect, beautiful person model, isn't there? And there's the place for the funny sizes as well. And I just think me and you, we're the funny sizes, and you got other guys out there, doing better than us probably, but this is right.
The achievable, the guys that you could achieve if you started today and wanted to stop next week. All right, Martin. Well, thanks very much for everything, and we'll see you again next week. And that's it. That's all I got.
Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.